Well, the saying goes, you don't get a second chance to make a good first impression. And, well, the Cardinals made a good, dare I say, great first impression here at Cards Camp as we continue on this special edition of Cards Cover 2. Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki giving you live coverage of Day 3, Practice Number 2 here of Cards Camp 2019. And, of course, when we talk about impression, we're talking about the number 1 overall draft pick, Kyler Murray. All eyes, MJ. We knew we were going to be on number 1, and he did not disappoint.
No, and, I was doing a show earlier on 98.7 FM with Dan Bickley and Vince Marotta, and I said, finally, everyone gets a chance to see what we've been seeing, even though we weren't able to talk about it, and sometimes you get a chance to see a highlight. So I'm just happy that it obviously carried over and much more to come, but this is things we've been hearing and seeing in the facility, and that's why the excitement is over the top. And obviously you still got to go through the physicality of training camp, but there's a lot of excitement, and I think Cardinal fans yesterday, whether you were on board or I'm going to give it another look, I got a lot of fans saying today, I wasn't scheduled to go to practice, but I definitely want to come now. So make sure you take advantage of these next 13 practices.
14 total open practices. Today is number 2 as the team goes through team stretch here this Friday early afternoon. And varying up the times a little bit, but we invite you to go to azcardinals.com/Cards Camp to get the complete training camp schedules. They'll be going for a couple of hours here this afternoon and again this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. When the pads come on Saturday, not exactly sure when they'll hit, but we will see this team in pads beginning this weekend.
And according to Cliff Kingsbury, they're going to wear pads. They're going to wear pads likely on Sunday, so maybe more hitting on Sunday, but the fact that they will do some individual drills, we don't know the extent of it. And that's where a lot of people say that cover football and the players themselves, guys separate themselves when they put the pads on. Everyone looks good in helmets and shorts. You put the pads on, maybe from the physicality standpoint, maybe guys trying to make plays, maybe when the lights come on, guys play a little bit better, so that may be the scenario when you put the pads on.
And Kingsbury brought that up earlier today. He said, you can, quote, make strides, unquote, when you're just kind of going through walkthroughs and you're in shells, but you play football in pads, so we'll see this team in pads for the first time coming up this weekend. But let's go back to Kyler Murray and that first impression. I'm going to borrow a tweet from play-by-play Cardinals voice Dave Pasch, who after practice yesterday tweeted, quote, I promised myself I wouldn't overreact to anything at training camp this year, but it's going to be hard to keep that promise after watching Kyler Murray today. Wow. Hashtag AZ Cardinals, unquote. And let's be honest. Well, I think we're all in the same boat because, one, you want to draw conclusions, but it is so early here in this process. And, one, we haven't seen this team in pads. We haven't seen this team play a game. But based off what Kyler Murray did yesterday, let's put it this way. The first big crowd reaction at practice was when he took off and ran left, and you saw that quickness and you saw the speed, half speed maybe, but still quicker than a lot of players out there.
Well, I'm glad he only had one run yesterday. And again, I don't want to see him running here. Obviously, you're not supposed to touch the quarterback. They're wearing a different jersey color. But, he has that ability. To me, like I said, we've seen this, but the fact is now they were 11 on 11. There was a defense, no pads, but you could just see the decision now that his first 2 passes were incomplete. Actually, Keyshawn Johnson dropped one. One could have been a better pass. After that, Craig, I think he went 18 for 19 and had a nice throw down the sidelines to Kevin White. We talk about looking for an X-receiver, a big physical guy who obviously has had some injuries. He flashed early in camp. They wanted him to be a little more consistent, but now that he put the we get to training camp, nice throw to the left side over the shoulder, and then obviously everyone's going to talk about the play to Larry Fitzgerald. Great coverage by Tremaine Brock.
And that accuracy is something that Murray did great in college, and Kingsbury was asked about Murray's day 1 performance, and he said he wasn't surprised at all by the accuracy, and That's part of why he was the number 1 overall draft pick and a Heisman Trophy winner, was because he was so accurate with the football. But he wants Murray to concentrate, quote, on the operation and comfort level and getting on the same page with those receivers. That is what this is for. That's what preseason is for, because as much as we talked yesterday about Murray's knowledge and familiarity with this offense, there's not a ton of players out here, maybe a little bit, but Murray knows he is almost like a coach on the field, and will put guys in right positions where they need to line up. And that is what this is, the big emphasis for the Cardinals in training camp, is Murray to get everyone else at his level.
Yeah, and Kyle Odegaard, who obviously joins us throughout the season with his film session, he wrote a story about Kingsbury wants him to improvise. Now the question was, do you want to see your quarterback, obviously, maybe be cautious if he's in the open field? He said, obviously you don't want to put yourself in harm's way, but he wants him to improvise if he has a chance. Now I don't know if we're going to see in the preseason or training camp, but we get into a game and he's got a sliver, he's going to take off, and he wants him to improvise, get the most out of it. So that's something we'll look for. Yesterday a couple things stood out. The up-tempo and how many wide receivers were coming in and out within, a play from here to there. So it was just fascinating. And when we got a chance to talk to Chandler Jones after practice, he was sweating. I'm just saying, the conditioning for the defensive players is just as important for the offensive players.
Yeah, this offense is up-tempo. We saw that. I did see one huddle. I don't know how often we're going to see that come the regular season, but this team does want to get off as many plays as possible. But you brought up the wide receivers, and the Kevin White play is one, and the other one is Larry Fitzgerald, who had an unreal one-handed catch on the near sideline during 7-on-7. Certainly the play of the day, yet we've seen that from Fitz, and a question was asked to Kingsbury earlier today about that play, and Kingsbury said, I was surprised, but standing next to him was wide receivers assistant coach Jerry Sullivan, who's seen Fitz do that a lot, and said, quote, you ain't seen nothing yet.
And it's true.
Yes.
I told you the story when they were playing in the Hall of Fame game and Larry wasn't at practice on a Saturday. It was depressing out there. Now, nothing against J.J. Nelson and Jerron Brown and John Brown and Britton Golden, but he makes those catches in practice that you see in the games. So, and that's who he is. What he does in practice, it carries over. Sundays are easy for Larry Fitzgerald.
Well, and even some when the cameras aren't even rolling.
Right. He makes those a couple times a week, and we see it in Tempe. We see it here at the State Farm Stadium. We see it in the games. And to me, it's not unusual, but you got to give Brock credit. He had great coverage there, and Murray made the right throw. He threw it over the right shoulder where only one guy can get it, and Larry obviously was able to outjump Tremaine Brock.
You're watching the wide receivers go through their individual drills with receivers coach David Rye and his assistant Jerry Sullivan on the field, and that's the question that we talked about yesterday as far as how many wide receivers this team does keep, if it's 6, if it's 7, and of course, who are those wide receivers? Well, we know 2 of them are going to be Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk, and in looking at how this team ran the offense yesterday during 11-on-11, that first team offense included Fitz, included Kirk, and then the other 2 wide receivers, Trent Sherfield and Kevin White.
A little surprising because, listen, they did run a lot of receivers, and eventually Keyshawn Johnson and Demir Bird came in. Okay, let's try to figure this out. You got Kirk, you got Fitz, you got 3 rookies. So 5, that's 5 right there.
Last
right?
time I did math, yes. 2 + 3 is 5.
No, I'm just saying likely make the roster.
Correct.
Okay. Not a guarantee, but likely considering 3 draft pick. So now we're looking if they keep 7. Who are the other 2 guys? Does it come down to Farrell Cooper, Demir Bird, Trent Sherfield, Kevin White? And I could be missing someone.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be something to pay attention to, and these practice reps do matter. How well do you perform when you're given the spotlight? And as you mentioned, Bird and Johnson did see some reps with the first team as well. Andy Isabella, Hakeem Butler running second team, and that can all change by this weekend. But it was interesting, the first open practice in which we're able to see and talk about that you have Kevin White, who I think they would love to see make this team because of his athletic ability, his speed, and his height. that is something that this team hasn't had in a long time.
And great catch.
Yes.
I mean, we watched last year, Greg Little obviously was out of football for a while. There were some drops. Bryce Butler, there were some drops. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to drop a pass, but he actually turned some heads initially in off-season workouts, and then they wanted him to be a little bit more consistent. Well, now's the time because he's going to get a chance, like a lot of these guys, to play a lot in the preseason.
The rest of the first-team offense, not a surprise. The offensive line, left to right, Humphreys, Pugh, Shipley, Sweezy, and Marcus Gilbert. And, of course, Kyler Murray, David Johnson in the backfield. We did see the centers rotate. Shipley did get the first-team reps, but then we did see Mason Cole running with the first team. So, as Kingsbury said yesterday, it is going to be, quote, great competition. And so far we're seeing that early in camp because you want to make sure that whomever it is, that they're comfortable with handing the ball or at least snapping the ball to Murray. So something to pay attention to. And then, of course, your tackles. Are they protecting the edges? And that's something that once the pads come on, you'll get a little bit better idea on how well they're doing because you'll be able to hit, and then you get that pass rush towards the quarterback.
I think the Cardinals are in a good spot. If I mention three guys, Shipley on the last year of his contract, Lamont Gilliard, who the Cardinals just drafted from Georgia, and you throw in Mason Cole, they all can play guard and center. And we talk about position flexibility. I think Cole, if he doesn't win the job, will be active on game day. He's your backup center guard. And then we'll see what happens with Max Garcia. He's got NFL experience playing both guards, and then Corey Cunningham. But between Gilliard, Shipley, and Cole, they could play multiple positions, and that helps you earn a roster spot in the long run.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about the defense and what we saw as far as who was lining up with that first-team defense. It was nickel situation, so you only had two defensive linemen, but it was Philon and Peters. No surprise there. The linebackers, Jones, Reddick, Hicks, and Suggs. And in the secondary, your two corners were Patrick Peterson and Robert Alford. Now, the question was, how much would we see Peterson running first team, getting his reps because he's going to miss the first 6 games of the season? Tremaine Brock as the nickel corner, and Byron Murphy was running second team both at outside and inside. But whether we see Peterson with the first team throughout training camp, maybe not a lot during the preseason, but how they kind of divvy up those reps because it's going to be Alford on one side and then question mark on the other.
Yeah, I think they have to – this is what they're going to look like in Week 7. Now, I know we got 6 games before there, but I think this is what they've been thinking about the entire offseason, okay? Where does Brock go? Where does Murphy go? Where does Chris Jones go? So having Patrick out there, maybe you do it for a few weeks because this is going to be the starting defense when he returns. I just don't think you can put him on the shelf. You got to see what it's going to look like in the long run. And so we'll see. I don't think he's going to play a ton in the preseason. But at some point, you're going to have to put somebody opposite of Alford. And Tremaine Brock had a conversation with Kyle Odegaard, and he said, I'm trying to lock down the slot right now, but I can play both. I talked to Chris Jones yesterday. He said, I can play both. We know Byron Murphy can play. He could play inside and outside. So once again, once they figure out what they think their top defense is going to look like, maybe we'll start to see some other guys get opportunities opposite of Robert Alford.
Yeah, it was interesting to read Odegaard's story on azcardinals.com. Brock, if it was up to him, would prefer to play inside and just kind of know that position as well as he could. But, again, if he's the best option to be the outside corner opposite Alford, then he's willing to do that. But it's where you want guys to be comfortable, but you also want your best guys on the field.
Yeah, and, yesterday when Kingsbury talked about Brock, I mean, just the experience with Vance, okay? He to me, if they go into Week 1 him as the outside corner, I'm fine with that. He's got experience. He's played in this defense. They're confident with him. Now it's a question of where does Murphy and Jones? Can you slide him inside? Because usually when you're playing inside, you're going against a veteran slot receiver. Now, Isabella and Kirk, younger guys, but usually teams have veteran slot receivers. So when I say hide a guy, you're still going to have to make some plays. So I think at the end, Tremaine Brock will be opposite Alford, and then we'll see who ends up in the slot position.
Rounding out the secondary, of course, Buda Baker and DJ Swearinger at safety. There was a little bit of a, I don't know, I wouldn't say a scare, but all of a sudden during 11-on-11, there was all of a sudden a body maybe a little bit too close to number 1. Kyler Murray didn't get hit, but Chandler Jones and Marcus Gilbert were going up against one another, and it was Jones getting the better of Gilbert and pushing Gilbert back towards the quarterback, and then all of a sudden the ball got knocked down. And everyone kind of like, hey, you're a little too close to number one. Chandler Jones apologized, and he spoke with the media after practice. And look, it wasn't his intention. And even Kingsbury today, when asked about it, said, hey, things like that happen, but I like the max effort that Jones brings. I ran into Chandler Jones a little bit later on. He had a big smile on his face. I go, hey, did anyone yell at you? He goes, no, nothing like that. But he did want to make clear that he wasn't trying to. It just kind of happened, and that does, when you are going one-on-one, even maybe at half speed, sometimes things get a little bit too close, tight window, tight quarters. But let's hope that is maybe the last time that we see Kyler Murray. There's got to be like a 2-foot cushion around him.
Should we put him in a yellow jersey? I mean, he's wearing a black jersey.
Yeah.
Listen, you can't begrudge a guy for putting the effort in, but I remember this happened. I think we were at Emory-Riddle under Ken Wisenhunt, maybe
up in Flagstaff.
Yeah, Flagstaff, excuse me. And Travis LeBoy hit the quarterback, and he got kicked out of practice.
Yeah.
You don't touch the quarterback. There's a reason why they're wearing a different jersey. I know momentum can shake it that way, but obviously Chandler knows that you can't touch the quarterback. Well, he can touch the quarterback on Sundays, not his own quarterback.
Yeah, but it is going to be fun to watch. Is it going to be Jones and Gilbert a lot? Is it going to be Suggs and Humphreys a lot? I mean, those four are going to help one another a lot. And I even did see midway through practice there was a mid-practice break, which we can get to here in a moment. That was a little bit different. But during that break in action, Jones and Gilbert were talking. I mean, nothing demonstrative, but actually some teaching and instructing and kind of getting opinions from one another, both talking to one another, because that's what you want. I'm going to get the best of you sometimes. You're going to get the best of me. But as long as we improve each other, we're all going to be better for it on Sundays.
Well, I saw when the offense came off the field on 11-on-11, Kyler Murray actually had two receivers. I tweeted the picture out, and they were going through instructions on, based on the defense and their formation, where sometimes you got to change your route running. So always coaching going on, but for a young quarterback to be able to go to a guy like Bird's been in the league, and then Keyshawn Johnson, a rookie, and say, listen, this is what I want you to do, that will go a long way when you're running a route.
Special teams, we also saw as far as what this team might look like as far as who's going to be returning kicks, whether it's punts or kickoffs, and there were almost more than a half a dozen different guys back there, but you saw Christian Kirk, Farrell Cooper, Demir Bird, Andy Isabella, Keyshawn Johnson, TJ Logan, all given opportunities, because as we talk about wide receivers, if a wide receiver can be one of those return guys, then all of a sudden that's one player for two potential spots on a football field.
Yeah, and I think Farrell Cooper and Demir Bird really are 1-2, and then I would put Isabella in there. Now, as for Logan, he had a really nice run yesterday. And, we know how fast he was. He had the fastest running back time at the Combine. I think it was John Ross. Maybe somebody else had the fastest wide receiver overall time. Last year they tried to put 5 or 6 plays in for him, but obviously they didn't get a lot of protection. But TJ Logan had a great run, and I thought DJ Foster had a nice run up the middle. I know
no brace on his knee.
No brace on his knee. He had acceleration. He got to the second layer. So, we're obviously going to focus on David Johnson and Chase Edmonds, but, guys like TJ Logan and DJ Foster, they're depth on this roster, and if they keep 4, I think those are the 4 guys.
Again, day 2, practice number 2, if you will, day 2 of the second open practice here is continuing coverage, a special edition of Cards Cover 2 here at State Farm Stadium. We'll be with you throughout training camp, covering every open practice that includes this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. azcardinals.com/Cards Camp for your complete schedule. And if you are planning on heading out here to the west side this weekend, we do have a traffic advisory for you. The westbound I-10 will be closed between 35th Avenue and 43rd Avenue because of the ongoing construction. So plan accordingly. And if you're looking for different routes, azcardinals.com/Cards Camp for more information there. One note on Kyler Murray as we kind of talk a little bit about the news of the day, and I saw this on Pro Football Talk this morning, as far as the top 50 player sales in the preseason as released by the NFLPA. Murray is number 21, the highest rookie on the list, which says a lot, and we saw several number 1 jerseys here in the stands. In fact, Chandler Jones even brought that up when he met the media after practice, but to see him in the upper half, if you will, as far as all NFL players, Tom Brady, Odell Beckham Jr. 1-2, which you'd expect, but there is certainly a lot of intrigue, and already he's got his fan base talking about Kyler Murray.
Yeah, and I'm sure it starts in Texas. Obviously, it's high school, and then it goes to Oklahoma, maybe Texas A&M, and now Cardinal fans. I mean, initially, after the draft, he was number one when it came to rookie sales, but now obviously you're talking about the Brady's.
Yeah, I'm talking about the entire NFL.
And
yes.
That's impressive, and everyone's always kind of like, I don't know if I should purchase a jersey. Well, I got news for you. Kyler Murray's going to be here a long time, so I think you're safe to say if you're looking for a new jersey, number one could be it.
Yeah, and the team shop, by the way, open here during training camp practices.
And you and I got a chance to see the number one Kyler Murray jerseys in the team shop yesterday morning.
Yeah, and question on now maybe if there are headband sales, because
Chandler
that is
Jones.
Yes, he brought it up.
It's a swag thing.
It's exactly. They got the tinted visor and then the headband underneath, and that's Murray's always had the tinted visor and always done the headband. It's not brand new, but you might see some fans start not only rocking the jersey but also the headband.
And I didn't see it. Chase, who the Cardinals media relations told me, Chase Russell, there was a fan out there with a flag of the high school.
Okay, Allen High School in Texas.
He was. They were there here yesterday. I mean, they watched him before we even knew who he was.
Yeah, literally a legend at high school in the state of Texas. Many people believe the greatest player to come out of Texas.
How many
as far
losses?
As high school. 0 losses. 3 straight state championships for Kyler Murray, and then a Heisman Trophy at his his last season on the college level. It's certainly an impressive resume, one that the Cardinals hope continues here in 2019. But this is where it all begins. Baby steps, if you will, but certainly a good first impression as far as what Murray was able to do. As we kind of look at what else is happening here around training camp and some of the news of the day with what Kingsbury was asked this morning. And let's start with those 6 players that are on the PUP list. If any of those players are close to coming off that list, again, right now they're kind of working out on the side, but according to Kingsbury, perhaps Brooks Reed might be the closest, and that's great to hear because that outside linebacking position is going to be huge, and right now there's not much depth. And if Reed is able to get on the practice field sooner rather than later, that's certainly going to help.
Well, and he's missed some time in the offseason. Guys like Max Garcia and Robert Kemdichu, who we'll get into here in a moment, they're coming off torn ACLs. Some guys just have some lingering injuries. And interesting, you sign an outside linebacker, and then the next guy's right now saying, oh, that's the position I play. I need to get back on the practice field.
That's kind of how it works. A little bit some motivation,
but
if you will.
He's got to be cleared by the team doctors. You don't want to have any setbacks. We're still in July, right?
Correct.
You got an entire August, and then you get into September. But they want him to be a contributor when it comes to Brooks Reed.
You brought up Kimdichie. Question was asked to Kingsbury this morning about Kimdichie and how he looked, because we did see Kimdichie make an appearance towards the end of practice. And Kingsbury was very honest. Quote, not in shape. We know he's coming off the ACL injury. He had some off-the-field issues as well this offseason, and now you report to training camp. I understand you're rehabbing, but when you have the head coach come out and say you're not in shape, and we haven't heard a lot of definitive statements from Kingsbury since he's been named head coach, and this for me might be the first, or at least one of the first, to kind of really go out there. And now all of a sudden there is a huge spotlight on number 90.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, people are going to say, why don't they just cut him? Then, they're on the hook for the salary, not saying that he's going to be productive. He does have a bonus coming up here, so they're hoping that he can return and give him something. I don't know if that's week 6, week 8. He's on PUP. We'll know more as the rehab goes. They do need depth at that position, but to me, this is inexcusable. Now, I will give him the benefit of the doubt. When you are coming back from an ACL, it's hard to obviously your lower extremes, but I'm sure he's doing a lot of rehab in a swimming pool, but sometimes you can't be eating because you're not being able to work out as much. And so you just want to make sure that he's motivated to come back and he can help this football team, but it's a work in progress, and right now I don't know when they can count on him. They would know more than us, but got to get back on the practice field to start practicing first before you even get cleared to play in a game.
Yeah, when we talk about defensive line, we know Corey Peters, we know Darius Philon, we know Rodney Gunter. Zach Allen is going to have a huge role on that defensive lineman, the Cardinals draft pick. And then the wild card, if you will, is, okay, what about Kim Dichie? And that's the big unknown.
Yeah, and it's disappointing. A former first-round pick, and last year he showed flashes, but at this point in time, this is more on the player than the organization.
Do want to point out that Kingsbury did notice the number of fans in attendance for practice number 1. He called it great juice. And of those 14 open practices, we were all kind of surprised that the number was so high. 9 last year, 14 this year, and the question was asked to Kingsbury, why so many when you're kind of trying to be secretive? And he said, well, it starts from the top, talking about team president Michael Bidwell. And then Kingsbury added, quote, we want fans to be excited about what this team is going to be. And we talked about at the top, so far so good, because we saw that excitement level with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, and if fans didn't get a chance to get out here, and it's okay, it's only one day. Today's practice number 2. We still got 12 more. And then obviously social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, a lot of fans are saying, I want to get here. Plenty of time. Go to azcardinals.com/training camp. All the information on there for you.
And the Cardinals are also doing something that was announced earlier today as far as a great giveaway. There is going to be a contest, if you will. The Cardinals are hiding 100 customized NFL 100 footballs in various locations around the state. It's part of the Surprise and Delight campaign to celebrate 100 years of NFL football. The first batch of footballs will be distributed this coming Monday, July 29th, with the final footballs to be dispersed on the morning of Friday, August 2nd. Now, of these 100 footballs, there are going to be 3 golden footballs, if you will, almost like the Willy Wonka golden ticket, but 3 golden footballs. And if you're lucky enough to find one of those, well, you'll get tickets to the Cardinals preseason game against the Raiders on August 15th. And one of the 3 gold footballs will win 2019 season tickets.
Very nice. Now, where are these footballs going to be?
Exactly. That's going to be interesting. I invite you to go to azcardinals.com for more information because, yes, the state of Arizona is very large, but 100 footballs distributed around the state of Arizona.
But they do mention all footballs will be outside and visible at locations such as parks, landmarks, places of business, or buildings. Go to azcardinals.com.
Absolutely. A great giveaway by the Cardinals here as we are just 2 days into training camp here in 2019.
Those are cool footballs.
Absolutely. They look very, very good. We invite you to come out this weekend here. Practice on Saturday and Sunday. azcardinals.com has all the information for when the practices will be. And, of course, we'll be with you as well. There are special editions of Cards Cover 2 throughout the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And with that, we'll sign off here on this Friday afternoon. Special thanks behind the scenes, Jim Alejandro, Devin Henry, from my partner Mike Jurecki. I'm Craig Grialou. Appreciate you watching and listening here. Day 2, practice number 2 of Cards Camp 2019.